Welcome back, everyone. This is Strange Planet. For this week, we're going to be talking mostly about sports and sports news. And I'm going to lead off and start talking about what I think and know, and that is that the Yankees are obviously one of the greatest teams in history. And it's been an interesting start for them. But one thing that should not be underlooked is the fact that the entire division right now is actually up on wins. And that is surprising in general because I'm looking at the lineup actually as we speak right now. And it's very, very interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm upset that Boston's last because that's just great. But aside from that, the Yankees are looking at about third place. And they're up on wins. Like things are looking pretty good overall. We have some injuries, which is not also too good. I believe Judge is out for a few days, but I think he will return. It was something minor, so I don't think it's going to be very long that he's actually out for. So we wish him the best. Yeah, I think he's going to.
Will he be back before Friday?
I want to say only a few days. I mean, the article I read didn't really say. It just said that there was no fracture. It was nothing serious. So I think he's just going to probably sit out a game or two, and then he'll be back probably, most likely by the weekend, if anything. But probably the latest, to tell you the truth, because I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's that serious. Yeah, everybody else is looking pretty good. And I want to say by possibly the end of this weekend coming up, the Yankees might actually take second place as they're trailing behind second, but not by much. I think they're going to get things together here. And one thing that I will note that's also very interesting is that Aaron Boone, there's a lot of Yankee fans that aren't too happy with him. And I'm not like the biggest fan of him, but I'm not against him either. Like he's been thrown out of more games this season than I can think of, which is crazy. But I don't blame him for actually stepping up to the plate and, ridiculing some of these ridiculous calls by the umpires. It's crazy. Like sometimes these balls that are being thrown, bro, they're in the dirt and they're calling them strikes. So he had an outburst and yeah, he's been getting tossed out time to time, but I give him credit because at least he's standing up for what's right. You know what I mean? Cause like you can't let bullshit like that happen. You know what I mean? And I think it was last week at some point during the post-game press conference, they said they were talking about, him being thrown out and stuff. And he's like, well, we lost today's game because these umpires are ridiculous, and he's not wrong. He's really not. If you watched the game, you would have seen it for yourself. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add as far as the Yankees here, but I got a lot of hope. But I think we will definitely make the postseason, and the World Series is something that I do want to say is going to happen as well. But this is only June. We got a lot of baseball to be played left. We have all of July. We have all of August. And we're going to revisit this probably sometime by September so I can reevaluate and see where we stand at that point.
On a side note, have you been seeing that they're enforcing this rule where the first and third base coaches have to stand in their box?
Yeah, I heard about that. There was a situation, I think a couple of weeks ago, that had something to do with that, where they thought the third base coach was trying to communicate or something, or something shady was going on there or something. I don't really know the details about it, but yeah, I think for right now, the way it stands is they have to stay in that box. Yeah, just to avoid any problems, I guess, or any suspicions. But that's about as much as I know about it. I didn't dig too deep about that.
The funny thing about that whole situation is it's just like teams have been stealing signs for years. It's not like this is something new.
I mean, that's true, too. At least they're not banging trash can lids like the Houston Astros, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
To this day, man, I cannot forgive them for that because they ended up winning the World Series that year. And had that shadiness not have gone on, it could have went very different. You know what I mean?
That's what the Patriots got in trouble for. Some years back when they got caught for stealing defensive signals.
Oh, yeah, and that wouldn't be the first
one
for
of their
the Patriots.
Super Bowl winning years.
That's not a first for them between that and between videotaping the Jets' defense. Remember that story?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're
deflated footballs.
They take their signs. Well, yeah, the deflated footballs was another scandal. But
Yeah, Brady's got a lot of those. Don't get me wrong; he probably is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and I say that.
yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, Brady was probably in on it, but I blame that on Belichick.
Yeah, right. You got to point the blame where it belongs in that case too. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that's not a hard-earned victory. Shit like that happens because like you're cheating to win, and that's just not a message that should be sent.
It probably wasn't necessary for the Patriots to win. I think they did themselves a disservice by doing that.
Right. And I kind of feel like in general,
their legacy. Luckily, Tom Brady ended up being, winning and a lot more and in many different ways. So I think it kind of erased any type of doubt that you would have about him winning. But if that was his only ring, or those were his only 2 rings or whatever, the Deflategate year and the videotape scandal, I think that would be a very difficult thing to overcome when you look at the legacy of the Tom Brady Patriots. But they won so much that I don't think it matters in the long run. I think, that legacy is pretty solid. As much as that hurts me as a Giants fan.
Amen to that. I hear you there. It's not easy for us to talk like this, by the way, folks.
But at least we could always say we ruined their perfect season.
Amen to that too. Yep. And that'll never be forgotten. Eli Manning,
never.
Baby. That was a great year. Both of them.
Yeah, we ruined 2 Patriot seasons, including 1 perfect season.
Yep, and that was the first one too. That was the best one. I mean, they're both great. Don't get me wrong, but that one was Omega. That was great. I remember I was seeing these shirts they were selling, and it had the 16 or the 8, 17 and 0 or whatever on the front, and then on the back of the shirt it said 1 giant loss, and the giant was written like obviously the New York Giants logo. I was like, I can't find that shirt. I'm looking for it still, but I need to find it. It's such a great shirt. But speaking, I guess we rotated over to football news. Speaking of also news, Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time coming.
I feel like that could help them, to be honest, because that's one thing they kind of. I mean, sure, he's in his back 9 of his career or whatnot, and seems like the Jets always get that kind of.
He has 1-2 years left in the tank, I think.
Yeah, or maybe not even exactly, and probably not even.
But he's still like an elite quarterback. He's still in good shape. He still can execute at an elite level. Like, he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So I think he definitely can do some things with the Jets. I think that the Jets haven't done in quite some time. So
right. And the funny thing I always thought about the Jets, and what I meant by that before, was like they always get like star quarterbacks when they're like close to on their way out. Like, remember years ago they had Favre for like a year or 2, and then he
which is interesting because they also, I think, got Favre from the Packers. Oh, I mean, Favre was on the Packers, but I forget whether he went to the Minnesota Vikings first.
Right. I don't
remember the order either. There first and then went to the Jets.
And he wasn't bad. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think they actually went to the postseason that year too. Like, that's if anything, I feel like this could help.
If Aaron Rodgers can drag the sorry Jets to the postseason, like, I consider that victory.
But what's funny about the Jets?
Whenever you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance of going far in the postseason. So
big facts there. What's funny about the Jets too? Like, they get a lot of joke and stuff, but like they're really not that bad of a team. They just have like a shit. They're tragic sometimes.
They're tragic.
It's just crazy. It's like their defense isn't bad. Like, it really isn't, but just it's not there when it's needed most. If that makes any sense. But
yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, though, because this is going to be a very interesting year coming up. And obviously the Giants are sticking with Jones there, and I'm not sure how you guys feel about that. And I know he gets a lot of, push and pull and a lot of...
No, I mean, I like Jones as our quarterback. Do I think he should be paid $40-something million a year? No.
I kind of agree with that, too, especially so soon.
I would like to see I don't know what his exact contract structure is, but I would like to see more of an incentive-based payout, down the line. I think we're going to have to be able to build up our team over the next number of years as he improves, and I would like to see, that core roster around him, his O-line, continue to develop, and them investing money there so that he can have adequate pass protection, as his career advances. And we also need to make sure we have adequate. We have Saquon Barkley, but
of course,
I'd like to see him get paid as well. I mean, I think
he deserves it too.
I think he's not getting they're still in contract negotiations because I think they franchise tagged him. So he wants to be a Giant, but I think he is a proven performer and needs to be paid. Daniel Jones, he's good. He's our best choice going forward in terms of QB.
100%.
But I don't think we should throw all of our money at him just yet. I mean, it's too late.
Right.
Yet, but I think, where else is he going to go? I think we should have kicked the can down the road a couple of years in order to see how he pans out, see if we want to make this a long-term deal.
If you look at just the Giants' standpoint with him in general, I mean, what other option would they have? So it was smart that they decided to take him and go the long run. But if, like I said, there really wasn't another alternative. So my only worry with this upcoming season too, which was similar to last season as well, is if God forbid something happens to him, say it's even something minor or whatever the case is, he misses a couple of weeks, they really don't have anybody else. You know what I mean? So that's going to really cause a problem, I think. So we need to make sure that he stays healthy and active because we need him.
Well,
he's important.
That's not even, people get injured, and it's football. It's a violent sport, and people get injured.
Of course. Yeah.
Can't really control injuries like that or predict them. They happen, and
you got to deal with it.
Probably will happen to him. It's just a matter of what his endurance will be. Some quarterbacks prove more durable than others. Some have better luck than others, and so I think I don't foresee any injury proneness in terms of Daniel Jones. I think he's a pretty solid QB.
Yeah, I'm not upset about it.
I'm not worried about him. Of course, an injury can happen to anyone, but I'm not worried about injury. I'm worried about, is he the next? Asking him to be the next Eli Manning is probably it's unfair, maybe, because Eli brought us 2 Super Bowls. He had a tremendous track record of excellence for many years. He was very clutch, and Daniel Jones may end up being somewhat like him, or he may end up being nothing like him. And we won our first playoff game with him. I think that was a positive step in the right direction, but I would like to see a bit more before we
start throwing money, right?
Well, it's too late for that, but before I would like to see a little bit more of a clutch performance in terms of in playoff football. We weren't competitive against the Eagles that last game.
Yeah, that was a little rough to watch too, especially that team of all teams.
Our offense just was not there. We got destroyed. The Eagles did go to the Super Bowl, so they were a pretty fucking good team.
Right.
So shame to that team. But I also know that our offense did not perform.
True, which only made it easier for them.
So, I would just like to see a little more proof of concept from Daniel Jones.
That's true. And how long has he been with them now for, too? It's been a couple of years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Because he, was on the team with Eli. He took over for Eli for the rest of one season. I forget which season it was. And then the next season, they fired, the coach and made Eli the quarterback again for that last season of Eli's career. And so Daniel Jones, of course, sat on the bench that season. So he's been with us. He's been, Eli's understudy and even started in place of Eli briefly. But so he's been around. He's not a rookie. He's relatively seasoned. And it's just a matter of, how much upside does he have left? Is he hitting his prime? Has he hit his prime? Or is there more room for development? And can we put some pieces around him that can help him develop to become a better quarterback? Right now, the Giants need to put more pieces in place, both to, defend him on the O-line, defensively in terms of, giving him some rest on the sideline rather than, giving up touchdowns and having him get back on the field right away. And in terms of running backs and, receivers, like there are investments to be made. And I think Daniel Jones, if he's interested in a long, successful career with the Giants, this might have been an opportunity to take a bit of not a pay cut, but to defer some of your payment until, a few years out. And I think that's how they tried to structure the contract. I'm just not sure that $40-something million deal was, I'm not comfortable with that at this stage. And he may prove that he deserves that amount. And at that point, give him whatever if he proves he deserves that amount of money. But, I think the next couple of years are going to kind of determine whether or not our investment in Daniel Jones will pay off.
That's very true. Yeah, moving forward with that, that's a very good point. I still think that they were still smart for doing what they did. I mean, maybe the pay, I can agree with you, it might have been a little bit too soon to throw that much. But at the same time, I'm not sure what the numbers are as far as like how long he's going to be or what the contract duration is or whatnot. But I would think between now and then, unless, this goes south real quick, I can see that I think he might stick around a while. I don't see him going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Well,
there's not many options.
Not if you have to pay him $40 million a year for his services. I mean,
well,
and he doesn't produce. Right. He ain't going anywhere because no one wants to pay that for a quarterback who doesn't produce.
Yeah, I mean, but I would say even up to this point, he's showing that he can do it. I think, you know what I mean? Like he's showing potential.
He's a decent QB. He showed his endurance throughout this past season. It was a rough middle of the season, after, several struggling losses. We finally got it together and we were able to get into the postseason. And we won, the first game of the postseason. So he's definitely proven to be an adequate quarterback. Whether he is Eli's successor, that remains to be seen. And the next couple
that's
are going to determine whether or not he's worth our investment.
I agree with you on that because, that's jumping the gun to say that he's just as good as Manning. I don't think that's the case just yet.
No,
but
and it's probably unfair to ask him to be as good as Manning or like Manning. But what I would like to see is our Giants organization moving in a direction of winning another Super Bowl, putting together a team that regularly makes the playoffs and competes in the playoffs with the elite teams in the league.
Right. Just getting there is like a milestone, but then taking it is another story too. You know what I mean? Because it sucks to get there after all that, you know what I mean, the whole season and then, kind of blow it the last game. But it happens. You know what I mean? It does happen, but let's hope that may not be the case. Well, we got to get there first. You know what I mean?
Being that he's being paid so much, what do we know about this guy personally? Is he kind of the guy that goes out to parties? Is he a family man?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He's been relatively quiet. I mean,
low profile.
Before this last season, like I didn't really even know he had a personality. So
it's actually it's funny you say that. It's true.
But yeah, he seems like a good guy. He's getting involved in the organization and charitable activities. So he seems to have a personality of sorts. And Eli was like that for a while too. You didn't really know what Eli was like. Now you see him in all types of commercials and
right.
Yeah. The reason why I bring it up though is not for any of that. It's just that I don't want him to go down the route of Carl Pavano. If anyone remembers Carl Pavano.
Why does that name ring a bell? Was he Panthers?
He was a pitcher with the Yankees.
Oh.
That we paid an exorbitant amount of money for.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
And before
that name does
before like he even like threw a pitch, he ended up getting injured in some car accident and was out for the entire season. We basically had him for 2 years. We paid him a shit ton of money, and he barely even threw a pitch.
And even when he did too, like I hate to say it, he didn't like it's probably because he didn't play that much. But like when he finally did play, it wasn't really that good. So yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about there. That was I gotta say I kind of don't miss that. That's for sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it could easily end up going that way. Like if he's a partier, maybe he gets into trouble with. I think that's what happened with Carl Pavano, but I don't remember exactly. But I'm just saying, like, as long as he stays healthy, which is what you guys were talking about, that's the biggest thing. If he gets injured and he's out for an entire season, you still got to pay the guy.
Well, yeah, it's not only that, but then you could just kiss the postseason goodbye, probably. You know what I mean? God forbid he gets injured, which is
at that point you're hoping for
a possibility. But the one thing I will say about Jones too is, from what we're seeing so far, he doesn't look like he's going to pull. I'm going to say the OBJ, where he doesn't look like the type of guy that's going to go out partying on a yacht before, a couple of days before a postseason game. You know what I mean? I don't see that coming from Jones. So as far as like the partying and that kind of aspect, I from what we're seeing so far, I don't see it. You know what I mean? So I don't think you really have to worry about that.
Hey man, he seems focused. If you can party on a yacht and then fucking win a Super Bowl, hey, I'll take it. As long as you win that Super Bowl. Fuck.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny you say that too.
Gronkowski, right? Shit.
Right? Or even like if you take it back to baseball, it's a lot like David Wells. When he pitched his perfect game, he was supposedly pretty fucking drunk, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, he was bombed apparently for like almost the whole game, I think. I think he got loaded before, but I guess, I mean, this is a weird way to look at it, but I guess that can tame the nerves a little bit, but that could also really throw a game.
Yeah. I could imagine most pitchers wouldn't be able to hit the box,
right?
The muscle memory gets a little loose.
Yeah. I guess it kind of deadens the nerves a little, gets him a little loose, and he did get his perfect game, which was amazing to watch, I'll tell you that. But like, and it's a weird thing is you wouldn't know it. He was either really, really bombed or severely hungover or a mix of the both. Pretty sure the story went something like that. And then it was pretty iconic because I think it was only a few years later, kind of hoping this guy would have gotten his perfect game too, because I feel like he kind of deserved it, which was David Cone.
I remember we had David Cone and David Wells. They both pitched a perfect game, right?
Definitely did. I'm pretty sure Wells was in 1998, and I think Cone's was in 99.
Yeah, Cone's was a little. It was kind of close in time.
Yeah, and I think it was just towards the end of Cone's career too. I think he only pitched maybe another year or two after that, and then I think he retired and it was over. And he didn't pull the Andy Pettit and come back for a couple of years and then retire again.
Right.
But, hey, the thing I will say is Andy Pettit proved his worth. Because like he did leave and retire, but when he came back, he still had it. I'm not gonna lie, like he was still had it. Like he really shouldn't have left. That's what I was thinking. Now he's
never leave.
Right? Yeah, like and I'm going back to the Yankees there, but like I've got a lot of confidence and faith in this team. I like what I'm seeing, and the new blood that came in, like Volpe and stuff, they're producing pretty good, and And in the beginning of the season, I always expected to be a little choppy or a little sloppy because, it's a new season. They got some new blood in there. They're getting used to the swing of things. But then once they all kind of, start clicking, that's when it starts, putting the numbers on the board. And that's what I think we're starting to see these past couple of weeks. And as long as it continues, that's fine with me. Within the next probably week or two, I'm sure I'll be showing up there. That's for damn sure. But yeah, definitely. Every year I always hit at least 2 or 3 games. And that's our show for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Strange Planet. And know in the future we will definitely be having many more sports-themed episodes. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.